Strikes are back. It's factory workers in China, it's garment workers in Bangladesh, it's teachers in the United States, it's students striking for action on climate change, it's the Yellow Vests in France calling for a general strike. And it's the largest strike in history, 150 million workers participating in a 2-day general strike against Indian Prime Minister Modi's anti-labour policies. What are strikes? Strikes are a form of direct action. They are a way for workers to struggle and win the change they want to see through their own efforts. Basically, a strike is an organized work stoppage performed to make someone, usually bosses, meet your demands. Strikes are a traditional tool of labor movements across the world because they work so well. They work by making it less costly for people in power to give strikers what they want than not to. Strikes have won workers higher wages, better working conditions, the 8 and 10-hour working days, weekends, holidays, sick pay, and much more. If we focus just on the United States recently, striking workers have won the $15 per hour minimum wage in many states. Last year, teachers in West Virginia, Arizona, Colorado, Kentucky, and Oklahoma all went on strike. So too did prisoners, fast food workers, and hotel workers. Many of them won major improvements to wages and working conditions. Organizing with their communities, striking teachers in LA just won big for teachers and students, including a 6% wage increase with no concessions, demands for class size caps and decreasing class sizes across the board, a moratorium on charter schools, additional school counselors and librarians, a nurse in every school, and demands against racial profiling and for immigrants' rights. You may have heard that Trump recently shut down the US government. He didn't seem to care about the huge costs to the economy, the injustice of working people not getting paid, or the harms of people not being able to get the medication and treatment they have a right to. Then, as soon as a bunch of air traffic controllers call in sick, and the president of the Association for Flight Attendants mentions the possibility of a general strike, Trump caves and temporarily reopens government. Do you think that's a coincidence?
Most people that saw you on that screen knew calling their congressman wasn't going to do shit. If you get shown a problem, but have no idea how to control it, then you just decide to get used to the problem.
And that's why our plan for tomorrow is important.
Because if we stop them from crossing the picket line this time, we win.
It's a good plan.
Yeah. Tomorrow we show them how to give fucks.
If capitalists and high-up managers, let's call them bosses, listened to workers and cared about what they want, strikes wouldn't be needed. If explaining your perspective and making good arguments was enough to convince them to do the right thing, strikes probably wouldn't exist. But that's not the world we live in. The world we live in is one where, for bosses, maximizing profits comes before everything else. Whether it's a living wage, workers' right to dignified life, basic health and safety, or even the continued existence of our species on this planet. The real world is a world of class struggle between workers and bosses, and it's the outcome of that struggle that decides how the vast majority of people live. One of the main reasons why millennials are so much worse off than their parents is that for some time now, the bosses' side has been winning. This is why the right is so anti-union. They know that unions are on the side of the working class. In real-world capitalism, class struggle is a constant, whether workers are fighting it or not. The right knows this, and they know which side they're on. That's why Republicans and major corporations spend staggering amounts of money on anti-union propaganda and getting government to pass anti-union legislation. Want to know which side the government is on? None of the last year's striking teachers in West Virginia, Arizona, Colorado, Kentucky, or Oklahoma were legally allowed to strike. This is also why the first thing that the Italian and German fascists did when they got to power was to attack unions. And it's why, in January this year, fascists threatened strikers and racially abused picketers at a strike in Manchester Victoria Station in England. And it's why fascists in Portland are protesting outside of union halls and getting their events cancelled, especially those of the Industrial Workers of the World, the most important syndicalist union in United States history. Strikes aren't just a tool for greater wealth and better working conditions. They are also a tool for working class self-emancipation. Under capitalism, workers are dominated, oppressed, and exploited. Working people do not have a reasonable alternative to working for bosses who control the means of production, whether that's fields, factories, or office buildings, to get what they need to live. After all, being poor, homeless, and hungry are not reasonable alternatives, and we all know it. This gives bosses the arbitrary power to decide what workers do and how. In other words, they control the labor process. Bosses decide whom to hire and fire. They can assign people dangerous, harmful, and humiliating tasks. They can decide whom to promote and offer opportunities to, and they make long-term strategy and investment decisions. On their own, workers have no real say and no democratic decision-making power in the capitalist economy. Bosses do, and they use that power to maximize profits with little to no regard for workers. This makes capitalism inherently unfree. Strikes are a way of fighting back against this unfreedom. Workers have an interest in striking for at least 3 reasons. First, workers have an interest in freedom, in being free from domination, oppression, and exploitation. They have an interest in controlling their own activities and their own lives. Every step in the struggle that reduces the power of bosses over workers, up to the point of workers taking control over their own workplaces, is an expansion of their freedom. By decreasing the domination, oppression, and exploitation that workers are subject to, strikes increase freedom. Second, workers have an interest in their self-emancipation, in freeing themselves from unnecessary domination, oppression, and exploitation. The demand to control our own activities and our own lives is based on the idea of using our own powers to individually and collectively self-direct or self-manage our lives. The practice of collectively self-directed struggle expands their powers to resist and eventually overcome oppression, and in itself increases and practices workers' powers of self-direction and self-determination. The process of struggling for your own self-emancipation, for instance through striking, increases and expresses your freedom. Third, workers have an interest in the many other individual and collective benefits of striking, such as higher wages, better working conditions, expanded rights and freedoms, and greater confidence in their own dignity and power. Strikes are back because they work. They are back because they are necessary to make the world a decent place for the vast majority of the people in it. And they are back because they are a way of fighting for the self-emancipation of working people. Strikes are back because they change the world for the better.
So what about being a part of something important, huh? Oh shit. Looks like the sun is about to explode. Oh,
We are a part of something important. Changing the world.
Thank you for watching. We are Red Plateaus. We are a channel dedicated to explaining and exploring different aspects of socialist theory. Currently, we're working on a series of videos looking at Marx's ideas on human development, freedom, alienation, and socialism. Please like, share, subscribe for more of our stuff. Click on the notification bell if you want. If you have any questions about this video or any others, things you'd like us to talk about in the future, or anything else, please ask them in the comments and we'll try to get to them. Have a good day.